Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to share with you one of the lessons from one of my Skillshare classes, which you normally need to be a Skillshare member in order to watch. This class is called the Style Class, Work Out Your Style in a Daily Project. And so this is my best attempt at explaining my thoughts around illustration style and what it takes to develop an illustration style that's unique to you. So the video I'm going to show you, the lesson, is called The Two Types of Illustrator. And just kind of real quick, those two types of illustrator are the artist type and the designer type. So when you watch today this lesson in today's video, I'd like you to let me know in the comments which kind of illustrator you think you're most like and why you think that is. But before I go and show you the lesson, I just have a few pieces of news. So they're both around the Patreon community. The first is just to remind you guys that I'm running the first patrons only live stream, and it's called Ask an Agent. So this is where you get to ask a real live illustration agent your questions. Our guest will be my very own agent, Dave Kuzner. And this will be on Friday, March 11th, 9 a.m. Pacific time. And it's going to be through Crowdcast. And in order to access this event, you have to be a patron on Patreon. So you can head over to patreon.com/TomFroze and find out more details from there. Now, the next bit of news, also related to Patreon here, is, and some of you will know if you're on Patreon already, is that I've decided to take down all of the tiers except the lowest one. So the lowest tier is just the fan level, it's $3. And then there's a few other tiers that kind of culminate in the $10, $25, and $50 levels. And with those three levels, people actually get 30-minute chats with me, some every month, some every 2 months, and some every 6 months. And I realized last month, as more and more of these appointments started filling into my calendar, that, oh my gosh, I can't keep up. I spent so much time last week doing chats, organizing chats, communicating, administrating, all around, making sure I, was booking people in the right spots and making sure people understood when their spots were coming available. It was a very flawed system and very confusing for most people, especially if you weren't a gold member. Gold member, it was pretty easy. You just had a chat every month, but everyone else had to kind of wait a certain amount of time before their chat became available. And I just found like the whole system was just too clunky. And, I regret that I had to cancel this because I've really enjoyed meeting you guys face to face. I really think that added a lot of value to me personally, just to meet fellow illustrators and find that sense of community. So in one sense, I feel like I failed at Patreon, but in another sense, I feel like it was an experiment and the results are what they are. And there's actually a positive side to it, which is that there's this community, this beautiful community of illustration learners that is growing around the Patreon. So not just on Patreon, not just through these chats, but through the Discord community that I've been able to make as a result of this. And so just for instance, on Mondays between 9 and 10 a.m. Pacific time, we do hangouts on Discord and we just talk about kind of a theme or a topic of the day. And it's really great just hearing what you guys are reading, what you guys have to say on these topics. And I see people having really meaningful conversations on the server all throughout the week and completely separate from any of my own activities. So that's a beautiful thing. And so yes, I am really scaling down Patreon to just something super simple right now, something that I can manage for now, and that's just having the $3 tier. So I realize that it's disappointing for those of you who started relying on these coaching style chats that we were doing, and some of you guys didn't even get a chance to have you chat before I took them down. So yeah, I'm very sorry about that, and it isn't the best, but it's what I had to do in order to survive, and so that I could focus on my client work, on producing my Skillshare classes, and doing these other things that I want to do regularly, like these videos. Other than that, I think that's all the news, and we can just go right into this little freebie that I'm giving you guys. But before we do that, just want to say this video is sponsored by Astropad. Astropad is an app that lets you turn your iPad into a screen-based graphics tablet for your Mac, and that lets you use Illustrator, Photoshop, Affinity Photo, all those things that are on your Mac. And they're on your Mac, but you can use your iPad as a screen-based tablet, like I said, and you can control those things from your tablet, just as if you're using a dedicated tablet. The nice thing is, one thing I really like about Astropad is not only is your iMac and Apple Pencil a graphics tablet, it's also an iMac and an Apple Pencil, and you can use it for all kinds of other things like games or writing or whatever you do with your iPad. If you want to try Astropad Studio for free for 30 days, head over to astropad.com and sign up from there. Thanks, Astropad. So one tiny little note, as always, please remember to like and subscribe. This is a great way to support the channel and bring a little smile to my face. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next episode.
Illustrators come in all shapes and sizes, but there are two overarching types, each pointing more or less to two different personality types. When we understand what kind of illustrator we are, or seem to be most alike, it helps us better understand ourselves, how we work, what drives us, and especially inform how strict or flexible we are with our style or styles. It's sort of like the difference between extroverts and introverts. Those of us who prefer to spend more time alone are suddenly validated by knowing there's a normal group of folks we call introverts, and we can realize we're the normal ones and not those crazy extroverts. But seriously, when we realize the two kinds of illustrators, we can better understand why perhaps our style tendencies seem to be going in a certain direction. So the first type of illustrator is illustrator as artist. Another name might be rock star or the style-forward illustrator. While we're all artists, the artist type is obsessed with self-identity in their work. At least in their persona, they're extroverts, boldly expressing themselves in a very specific way. Their illustration style may seem to be more based on patterns and repeating elements, heavily stylized, and only ever using a specific set of colors. They apply their style to all illustration problems in the same way a brand might apply the same colors and styles to their products in communications. Artist-type illustrators are known for their strong, singular voice across disciplines. Their identity is unmistakable, highly constrained, decisive, and limited. We may quietly begrudge them for it, accusing them of being one-dimensional, one-trick ponies. But look closer. They have a special talent for leading with a strong vision, and they're able to bend all problems that come their way through their own unique vision. I've always envied artist-type illustrators for the confidence and strength of identity they exude. If you feel you have a strong personality and artistic vision over time, you may find yourself leaning more toward the artist-type illustrator. On the other hand, you may feel that having such an identity for design means you're not able to use all your artistic capabilities to the extent that will give you satisfaction, and you might find that stifling. You may also be simply more of an introvert or a problem solver in your work ethic. Enter the second kind of illustrator. The second kind of illustrator is the designer. Another name might be the problem solver or the idea-forward illustrator. We tend to remember the names and bold looks of artist-type illustrators, but the designer-type illustrators are doing just as impressive work, often taking on each project with a particular brand of cleverness, rather than particular stylistic elements like colors and stuff like that. These are more like introverts, allowing the work and ideas to come through more strongly than any personal expression. That's not to say their work is not identifiable back to them as the artist. It's just more layered and faceted. They get their hands in more pots. The problem solver type illustrator enjoys the challenge of solving each visual problem in a more unique way. They too have a focus, a range in which they're able to work, but it's simply less overt and takes on more forms. Artist type illustrators might begrudge designer types, accusing them of being chameleons, lacking in a clear personality, of being indecisive. But look closer. They know exactly who they are and use that to lead some pretty big clients into some highly creative, surprisingly varied artwork. They're every bit as decisive as the artist type, but they're able to adapt their abilities uniquely to each problem. I've always admired designer type illustrators for their creative prowess and ingenuity. If you feel like every visual problem moves you in different ways, that it's hard to simply hit every nail with the same style hammer, that might mean you're a problem-solving or designer type illustrator. As you can see in the examples in the slides, there's so much personality and uniqueness in each example, and they don't seem to have any problem attracting big clients and making endless new and unique work. These two types are, of course, extremes, and you may, like most people, find yourself somewhere in between these and feeling more like one than the other at various times. Perhaps over time, however, you'll notice in your own work a general tendency toward one or the other. While at some point we'll find ourselves to be more like one of these types than the other, at the beginning you'll likely be more like the designer type than the artist type. This is simply because you don't know enough about yourself yet to make this call one way or the other. This is perhaps a bit of a caution to people early on in their career who feel more like the artist, not to close yourself off to stylistic exploration too soon. Stay open to as many opportunities as you can in your early days. Saying yes not only gives you valuable experience and of course an income, it allows you to test out your strong vision across a wide variety of applications, something many of both types of illustrators become respected for.